Welcome, everybody. We are excited to be here. My name is Trissa Sarmiento, and I'm on the team with Bottega University. Today, we have an amazing lineup of panelists. We'll be talking about upskilling your workforce and meeting the demands for the digital economy. Just real briefly, I'd like to introduce our panelists, and then they'll give a few minutes each to kind of introduce themselves as well. We have Mandy Whedon. She's over the global operations for learning and development at Qualtrics. We have Carlos Kidman. He's an engineering manager and test architect, also founder of QA at the Point. He's engineering manager and test architect at Adobe as well. Then we have Ben Niklaus, who's our senior instructor at Bottega University, and Mo Ramos, who is a program manager at Adobe with diversity talent acquisition. So I'm going to give each panelist a few minutes and to introduce and kind of go into detail a little bit who they are and their experience. We'll start with Mandy.
All right, thanks, Trissa. My name is Mandy Whedon. My pronouns are she, her. I have been at Qualtrics about 2.5 years, and I lead a lot of our learning and development initiatives there for our services operations teams. So that means I get to do a lot of onboarding programs and employee enablement, new hire trainings, professional development, kind of internal career mobility, and I call it the fun things at Qualtrics. Before coming to Qualtrics, I was an academic. I was teaching and doing research at Purdue University on topics like professional development, career readiness, and doing research on questions like how do you prepare students for jobs that don't exist yet, and looking at ways to break down diversity, equity, and inclusion barriers in the tech field, and tech startups specifically.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carlos Kidman, and like Trissa said, I'm an engineering manager and test architect at Adobe, where I at least focus on productivity engineering, which is all around helping engineering teams be better at what they do. And so trying to help them with onboarding, ramping up, upskilling, removing barriers, automation engineering, that kind of stuff. And for me, that's the fun stuff, Mandy. I'm just kidding now. But also I'm the founder of QA at the Point, which is the quality and testing community here in Utah, where we look to try and raise the tide for everyone in Utah that is interested in either getting into the tech space or at least getting into the quality and testing side of things, because that's not very focused on at universities or boot camps or colleges. And so we wanted to place a community or in a platform to help people get into it. So it's been a lot of fun, and we've been working with Bottega on a lot of that as well. So thank you.
I'll go ahead. My name is Ben Nicholas. Like Trissa said, I am one of the senior instructors with Bottega University, the actual code school part. I've been with Bottega now for almost 5 years. I have my associates in cybersecurity forensics and my bachelor's and master's both in software development and engineering. So when I first started with Bottega, I went through their code school. And from that point on, it was just an acceleration of just coding, and it was just so much fun. So I just stuck with this with the school, and started as a mentor and worked my way to being one of the teachers. And so it took a little while to get there, but I got there. But so before I even got into the industry of being a developer or any type of tech, I was actually a corporate sous chef. So I managed a lot of different restaurants, and it was a lot of fun. But I, through people that I've met through, just different meetups that I go to, the software engineering and the development side of the tech industry is where I wanted to be. So I started going to school for that. So that's where I've been I've been with Bottega, like I said, for the last almost 5 years, and it's been the most amazing journey. And just being able to push through students into this amazing industry, it's exciting for me. So that's why I love teaching. So that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Mo Ramos. Like Trissa mentioned, I am a diversity talent acquisition program manager, and I've been with Adobe for about 3 years now. Really what my title means is that I break barriers to get into the tech industry, specifically Adobe, for underrepresented community. And we really define underrepresented, thinking about our 7 communities that are behind me. So really thinking of anything between accessibility, veterans, LGBTQ+, Hispanic and Latinx, Black employees, so on and so forth. So really my job has always been focused on how can we empower, enable, and develop our talent for the future, because they're our leaders for tomorrow. So that's what I do here at Adobe. I love my job and I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
Well, as you can all see, we have an awesome lineup today, panelists coming from different backgrounds, and we're excited to pick their brains and learn a little bit from them today. Well, let's start off. What is a digital evolution, and what does that mean for your employer to be a part of this digital evolution? Let's start out with Ben. Do you want to hit that one for us?
Yeah, I will go ahead and take this one. So before we discuss the digital evolution, what I would like to refresh our brains on is the Industrial Revolution, okay? Where it was basically talking about the skilled labor. Well, now that times have changed and we've entered this digital evolution era, okay? It's completely changed the way that we address and think of jobs, okay? Freelance developers are actually the ones that got upon research, a lot of this was on research. Freelance developers have been given this brand new path for permanent employment and full-time employment with positions, and which has been great. The digital evolution way of life has actually opened so many doors, but its heaviest usage is actually in the social media industries. Think of an example real quick, and we'll just go through this really quick. Talking about the transition into this digital industry. When we'd call a taxi cab, I'm using this as an example. We call a taxi cab years and years ago, and you call and then it would take, you don't know if the taxi's coming. You don't know if it's going to be there early or late. Okay. And when they'd show up, they'd have to honk and then you go out. Well, with this new era that we're in right now we have Uber. Okay. And we just download the app on our phone and then we can see who's driving what car, what their name is, everything. Okay. This is that new transition that I'm talking about, that these companies are now transitioning into this new digital era. Employers that are transitioning into this new way have new standards. They have to make huge decisions with changing their whole structure, digitizing their company from scratch. Okay, some companies do start from scratch this way. A little bit of research that I did with companies that are starting out in this world. Okay, it's going to be in the short term. A lot of these companies will struggle at first. This is a new era that we're coming into, and it will take time, but in the long term, the momentum of the company will actually grow tremendously. Now, for companies that have already been established, what I've seen is the downside to some of these companies that are entering and moving into this new digitalized era or this world. They'll have to adapt to changes, and they'll have to have a good team of developers. They'll have to have good management to act swiftly to all these modifications and changes that are going into this industry. This new era that we're in, with virtual meetings, virtual relationships, databases in the clouds, and so on, okay, are 100% important to all of these companies in this new digital evolution era to be successful, okay? Now, in closing this question, I just want to state one thing. I want to address a professor that one of my classes when I was going to school, okay, I watched her in one of her presentations. It was about cultivating technical skills in a new tech era. She gave a very important statement that I have kept with on my laptop forever. She said, to have a successful business, okay, she stated, we live in a project-based world now where employees must learn how to create value by managing complex tasks, okay? And what this will do is build high-performance teams to manage technology-based products. This new era has arrived and it isn't going away. To succeed, companies must understand the new era of jobs and tasks for the digital advancements and how it will affect their employees. And that is my answer to your question.
All right. Thank you, Ben. That was very insightful. And I'd love to hear raise of hand. Who else would like to take a jab at what it means for their employers to be a part of this digital evolution? All right, let's do Mo and then Mandy.
Awesome. At least for Adobe, I mean, it's in our mission statement, changing the world through digital experiences. This has really shown in our business. We know back when Adobe was a box service software and you can buy the product off of a shelf to now being a subscription-based company. What that really means for us is staying innovative, it's staying relevant, it's staying on top of what our users need, because to Benjamin's point, the business world changes. When you think of Adobe, you think of creatives. And I'm only going to talk to one specific pillar. Being competitive in the creative landscape of things, traditionally you were stuck to your desktop computer and only being able to create something on your desktop computer. But now you can change photos, videos on your mobile phone. You can do it on your tablet. You can do it on the go, and it'll all be syncing up to the cloud. And so for us, what it means to our employers to be a part of this digital evolution is meaning to stay innovative and to stay relevant and to just stay ahead of the curve when it comes to our creative space.
I completely agree with all of that. I think that's a really good point. I keep thinking, I heard someone say the other day, if you want to be prepared for the future of work, you need to be involved in creating it. And so I know at Qualtrics, we try and stay ahead of the pack and continue to be category leaders. So not only create a category, Qualtrics is a brand new category of experience management, but also keep looking for ways to innovate and anticipate what the future will look like. And one way of doing that is being involved in the creation of that. And I read a quote the other day that said, in the long run, the only sustainable competitive advantage is your organization's ability to learn faster than the competition. And that's by Peter Senge from the MIT Sloan of Management. But I think that just means building a place of employment that values continual learning, encourages people to develop the skills they need to thrive in ambiguity, to recognize opportunities, to jump in and be innovative and create something new that hasn't been done before. And I think that helps you to stay relevant and continually attract top talent, so that you can continue to lead as we switch from the industrial economy to the innovation economy or the digital economy, and keep a relevant, adaptable, and flexible skill set.
Awesome. That leads in perfectly when you were mentioning how as an employer, you're creating that environment to adapt, to create, and to continue learning. So that leads us to the next question. How is upskilling from within a benefit to the employer? Who would like to take a jab at that one?
I'll take it if you want.
All right.
That's fine with me. So upscaling is really, really important. In my opinion on this, and why it's important to employers is I want to use an example. I like using examples. It's my favorite thing to do because I can relate. Okay, let's take Amazon. It's a very good instance to use. Okay, they have a program that when an employee is working with the company for 1 year or so, okay, they can actually get their education taken care of and to learn a new trade or skill. And what this does for the employee is actually gives them a chance to really expand their knowledge and to add tools to their toolbox. And I use that term a lot, okay? Anybody that works at Bottega, I love using the toolbox term because it really is. The more you add into your toolbox, the better construction worker, whatever you are, correct? Well, it's the same concept here. Now, let's take that same company, Amazon, and imagine that one of those employees went to school, okay? Now they have been trained as a developer, they can code, and now Amazon could potentially transition this employee that's been maybe working in the warehouse or something that they really didn't like into a developer position. But what does this do for to Amazon? Okay, well, this is called hiring from within. Okay, and this keeps the employee with the company longer and also grows their skills, ultimately closing the skill gaps. Okay, jobs and their requirements are literally changing every day. Upscaling allows an employee to be more satisfied with the company, adding more motivation to work. Okay, it's increasing performance with the employee, and most of all, the retention of the employees with the actual company itself. So that's why I think, my opinion on why upscaling is so important to companies.
All right, Mandy, and then Carlos.
So I think first it's just more efficient as a sustainable model, right? It's to upskill the people you already have. Because if you look at the whole chain of events that needs to happen to bring on somebody from a candidate to an employee, how many sourcing hours do you need to put in to find somebody new to fill a position? How many people hours need to be put in for the interview loops, for reviewing all the interview scorecards, the committees that decide whether the offer is going to be extended? Maybe the offer is extended, not accepted. So you start over or you move to the next one, right? And then you need to onboard the employee. They need to ramp up. So how long does it take before they're efficient and productive? So I think if you look at that, it's just more efficient, right? I also tell our hiring managers too, we've got a program that we call our talent incubator. It's recent college graduates who have, kind of a diverse skill set, maybe an interest in tech, maybe not a lot of experience. So I have hiring managers from all across the company who come and they're looking for this next role out of our talent incubator. And I like to tell them, I can build you a custom skill set. So if you let me know exactly the skills that you need, we'll take the core that the person already has, and we can build a custom skill set and just move them in to your team. And so instead of, a job posting being kind of a wish list sometime, where you hope you find a candidate who meets all those nice to haves and needs to haves. When you look at your internal talent pool and consider them first and think, okay, what do I need? You can just upskill the people you have to meet the specific needs of each team.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it is the efficiency and productivity. So I think what Mandy said is spot on. I mean, just like how it's cheaper to retain a client or a customer than it is to get new clients and customers. It's the same concept. It's just a lot of time and money and investment to hire new people instead of keeping them in. For me, I look at, I guess from the engineering side of things, the longer you can keep an engineer on the team, the more context they're going to have. So when they switch from project to project, they'll have to ramp up. I mean, you may be working on this stack, then you have to jump over to this stack. And even someone who's been with the company 5 years, there's going to be some ramp up anytime they move to a new context. And so the longer they're at the company, the less they have to ramp up because they're already familiar with, some of the more holistic things happening. But the biggest one for me is just the culture. So I think the longer you're able to keep someone, the longer you're able to start forming the culture that you want on these teams in your company, in your organization. If you have people turning over all the time, every year, every 2 years, the harder it is for you to have a set culture and say, oh, when I think of this company, I think of these qualities, I think of these attributes. And so for when I transitioned from Workfront and we got acquired by Adobe, we went in, it's so awesome to hear people say, I've been with Adobe 10 plus years, because you don't hear that a lot. I mean, a lot of the time engineers are bouncing every 2 or 3 years. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it's not as common anymore. And so when you get to hear someone say, I love Adobe so much, and I've been here for 7 years, I've been here 10 years, 15 years, that just says a lot about the company. It says a lot about their culture. It means, I love where I work. I'm being treated fairly. I'm being treated right. I like what I get to do. I believe in the mission and everything. And keeping those people only, I guess, spreads that positivity even more. And then new employees come in and they can see people that have been there for so long, and it just, the culture of it all makes it feel a lot more like family because it's the same people you've been hanging out with the whole time. So along with the efficiency and the productivity, I think the culture and the people are a big aspect of that as well.
What about, you mentioned, each of you have kind of touched a little bit, efficiency and the cost of turnover. That was one of the questions we had is, what is the cost to your organization for turnover? And then maybe we can blend that in is, what tools, like Mandy, I'm curious to know, with your organization and any of you, how do you, do you guys have, with our economy and our digital access, I'm sure there's tools that enable you to identify, hey, this employee looks like a good candidate to upskill. So maybe we can talk a little bit about the cost of turnover and then how you retain them, and then the tools that you have. Maybe that's a loaded question. We can break that down, but who wants to go a jab at that one? All right, Mo.
Yeah, the cost of turnover at any company is high. I would say it's just such a miss. I think Mandy did such a phenomenal job explaining the entire process that it takes to even find that ideal candidate. And even then, once you find that candidate, you have to give them some sort of ramp up time, right? And so it could take anywhere between 90 days to find and really have that candidate in place, and then another additional 60 days to have them fully be an efficient, productive member of your organization. So to lose someone, you lose the prehistoric context to whatever project, group, community that they're working with. You lose the technology insight that they had, that expertise in that space. You lose the historical context when it comes to cross collaboration, because at least for us, we're a very cross-functional company. So you lose that partnership that you had with that one person, because that really enabled them to have trust in that one person. So there's so many misses when it comes to the insight, technology, partnership, community, and again, culture. I think culture is something that is so important. When you miss someone, they could have been the glue, right? And no one really noticed, because they were moving in such a quiet tone that they were navigating that space. But if that one person leaves, then you could potentially miss that person who really was the connector between all of these different groups. So whenever we lose someone, I think it's easier to say that you can continue to move on, but it's hard to recognize the actual value that they made to the company and the loss that you just had. So for us, I know that we always recognize that anyone leaving Adobe is really a hit in our company and a hit in our culture, and which is why you actually hear that we do stay quite some time, because we understand that everyone is valued within the organization. And so, to answer the other portions of your question, I think for us, the way we recognize is that, we kind of call that out as it is. We recognize losing someone is a hit to the business. It's a hit to our productivity. It's a hit to our culture. So what can we do so we identify the problem, and then we also started to identify solutions, which upskilling for us is super important. We have an internal mobility team at Adobe that is focused on talent management, and is to really upskill our workforce. And some of our biggest goals of these next years have been thinking and prioritizing internal mobility. So for us, we have our ATS system, which we call Workday, we call Workday. It is Workday. And Workday is such a phenomenal tool that they have features that you can, just like LinkedIn, say open to new opportunities internally. And that's a feature that we've started launching, and we're starting to see a lot of success, because you can, just like LinkedIn, you can put in, these are my ideal roles, or I really like Benjamin's leadership style. I want to work for Benjamin. So when a rec opens, I can follow Benjamin, and if a rec opens on his team, I could get a notification letting me know, oh, there's a space on his team. And you could also list just potential titles or opportunities that you like. So it's really leaning on the technology piece and leaning on the resources that we have to understand, what opportunities are available internally. But I think what's also really working for us is that like Carlos mentioned, we do recognize like we are family. We need to get to know the talent that we have internally and understand what are their interests, where do their skills lie, where are their gaps that maybe they'd like to focus on, and give them opportunities to focus on those gaps and stretch projects. So that's something that I know our talent management team is really working at. But I think it's really, again, leaning on your network, because that is also going to be something that's really important, leaning on your network and prioritizing coffee chats to find out other opportunities, and really leaning on the technology that we have to really ensure that people are getting that exposure that they need to opportunities or leaders that they have interest with. And I hope I answered all of your questions.
Oh, that was awesome. I love hearing it. And before I ask my next question, did any of you have wanted to add? Mandy. Okay, thanks.
I mean, I think what Mo said was spot on, right? Cost of turnover, there's a huge social cost. Like beyond just the monetary cost, there's a huge social cost for morale and engagement too. When you see your colleagues that you've been working closely with and collaborating with on projects leave, they take that social knowledge with them. And if that wasn't formalized and captured somewhere, you're continually starting over from square zero, right? And so I think it's a lot more morale boosting for your employees to see people grow and have career pathing opportunities and move into new teams and new opportunities than to continually be leaving. We also have a formal internal mobility program. And an internal job board. We have recruiters who look internally as well for open positions, as well as our external recruiters. We're using a new tool that we're integrating now to improve our internal candidate experience called Phenom People, which is phenomenal. I like to think of it as as if LinkedIn and a dating app had a baby. Where you can have kind of this internal mobility profile and where you list your interests and where you'd like to go and teams you're interested in. And it, based on kind of assessments that you go through, it suggests roles for you that you might not have been aware of otherwise, that based on your skill set, your experience, your interests, your career intentions, it suggests good matches for you. And finally, too, one of our manager responsibilities that we train them on is to do career coaching with their teams. So to think, not only can I help them be as successful as possible on this team, what's their next step? And how can I help them to get there and develop them into their next role as well?
Trissa, you're on mute.
Thank you, Ben. Get my mic on. Okay, so I have a wild card, a question. As we're discussing, I think this, there's some questions that come to my mind that maybe hopefully this will be valuable for our audience. One from as an onlooker, a job seeker, how would they identify, as they're looking through, Adobe, Qualtrics, they're awesome, amazing, really built out companies, right? They're the pillars in our community. What would you say, or what would you recommend for someone who's looking for a job to identify if an employer has these kind of internal systems in play, if they have that culture? Is there kind of on a job description or a place on their website that usually it's posted? What would you recommend for someone who wants to be a part of a company that promotes growth from within?
So for me, I always tell people that are looking to get into the space. It sounds like you're talking about someone who is either brand new to the space or brand new to the industry, or someone who is looking to maybe move from their current position to another one. The best advice I can give people is to network. Just talk to the people that work there. And I know that can be easier said than done, because sometimes you may not know who it is. But I would say list down the top 3, 4, 5 places that you want to work at, and it could be Qualtrics and Adobe on that list. And then see how you can reach out to the people. I mean, if you're listening to this, you already have Mandy and Mo and myself, like, reach out to us, right? Like, and just say, hey, I loved what your culture, what you're saying with the culture you have. How can I get in? And just start with a question. All of us are very friendly, I'm sure, and we'd love to talk to you. It's great to join other communities as well. You see all the symbols behind Mo, where there's lots of representation. There's lots of us trying to reach out. And so instead of you kind of saying like, oh, well, I need to wait for this thing to appear, I would say be a little more proactive and go out if you can. There's lots of communities, whether it's in development or it's project management or product management or UX, testing and quality. Like, there's so many communities and there's so many resources available. It really is just search for them. And if you can run into one of us, send us a question, hit us up, and don't be afraid to. I'm sure we'll make the time to talk to you and give you that. I can't speak for Qualtrics, but I know that Adobe, we do have a lot of resources on our website that you can always check out as well. And it'd probably be easier to talk to Mo or myself at this point and just say, hey, can you give us some links? And we'll send some your way. But yeah, I really do think that the best way is just to talk to the people at the places you want to work at. And if the person you find on LinkedIn, let's say, is like a front-end developer, is like, I don't know what resources we have, they might point you in the right direction. But the point is, ask those questions, kind of put yourself out there, and try to create those opportunities yourself if you can. All of us here are trying to do our best to reach out and help out too, but it's not as easy. It's not like I can just, slide into the DMs of everyone, that is interested. So hopefully we can work together to spread the word out as much as possible. Maybe, hopefully you find something on social media from Adobe or QA at the Point or Bottega or Qualtrics. But if you're looking as well, it'll make it easier for you to find stuff and reach out to us.
Okay. Ben, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. So not only, trying to reach out to people either through LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever you're trying to apply for a job, but, I would also say attend dev talks or, meetups that are in your local area, because in those meetups, you could actually potentially meet, a developer that is working for a company that's just has nothing to do that night as part of his attending something, and you could meet him and he could have a job available with his company. So, attending, like I said, the dev talks. Bottega, we do dev talks, and I actually was very fortunate that I got to do the last dev talk, and it was absolutely amazing. And, just the reach out that we had from that dev talk alone, I mean, imagine going actually to a dev talk that's in your your area. I mean, you don't know what kind of jobs are out there. And so I would definitely say, and I'm adding this onto my answer here. Part of the dev talk that we talked about was, you have to keep your skills going. You have to keep working on whatever projects you're working on, and you can't just like stop and just, start applying for jobs and just hope something happens. You always have to keep your skills moving forward. And through that, you can initially, push to GitHub, and, some person might see it and like your code. That could initially get you an opportunity with a position. You always have to keep your skills moving forward. And you got to reach out at the same time. Like Carlos said, you reach out to companies, the top 3 on your list. But, you go to these dev talks, go to your meetups, go, walk around town and talk to mom and pop shops that, might need a website for their company or something. And through all that, you could initially meet somebody that could springboard you into the career that you do want. So, I mean, that's what I would say. So
I'll just give a quick tip to the introverts out there. If you just do some kind of low-level creeping on social media, looking for things like blog posts, right? We've got a series called Why Qualtrics, where employees talk about, kind of their career path, why they joined, why they stay, things like that. We've got website on our employee resource groups, or our Q groups, we call them. We've got a website on our culture. So those are just kind of some more ways in the background. If you don't know anybody, but you're just seeing like, hey, is this a place I think I would fit? Looking at the social media, I think a lot of times will give some good cues about whether or not they have a culture of continuous learning. It's an opportunity-rich environment and a place that values belonging and inclusion.
And Mo, I thought I saw your hand raised. Did you want to pitch in on this one?
I honestly just +1 all around. I think everyone covered everything.
Awesome. All right. So going back to kind of like the employer focus here. What obstacles are you overcoming by upskilling from within your company? Anybody want to hit that one? All right, Mo.
I think one obstacle that happens, and I think this isn't just an Adobe obstacle, I think this is just across, is the fear of losing your talent. You know, when it comes to internal mobility, one of the questions, because we have trainings on these, you know, we ask that all of our hiring managers, and I'm a manager, I have 3 direct reports. It's the fear of losing your talent because they're going to go somewhere else, and the fear of not, you know, getting a replacement or a backfill. I think that's very much justified. You know, it's, you know, you're investing a lot of time and resources into, and, you know, investing this person to upskill and, you know, gain a new opportunity. And so I understand and do justify that feeling. But one of our solutions is, you know, really changing your mindset. It's not your talent, it's Adobe's talent. And we're the ones that, you know, are providing these opportunities, because one of the biggest things, you know, you can see data on why people leave companies all the time. It's number one reason is mostly because of managers. It's, you know, poor management or lack of opportunity. And those are the 2 always biggest reasons why people leave companies, is poor management and lack of opportunities. And so imagine a world where you are a great manager and want to upskill your employees, and there is an abundance of opportunities. And so I would say that is an obstacle in changing people's mindset, that it's not your talent, it's our talent. And just making sure that, you know, things happen in a timely manner, and making sure that, you know, the employee's voice is also heard when wanting to move into a new direction. So just fostering that open communication, change of mindset is definitely an obstacle, but I think we're getting through it slowly but surely.
I love being able to pick the brains of the employers. Sometimes, you know, talking with the job seekers, there's lots of us, but sometimes it's hard to get in and really get into the mindset of these employers. So I love having this conversation and getting to know a little bit about your organization and the pain points and how you guys are overcoming those. But regarding that question, anybody else want to take a jab at that one on how what obstacles you're overcoming by upskilling? All right, let's go on to the next one. What type of employee do you recommend to be considered for a reskilling program? And is there a time commitment for your investment? So yeah, what do you look for, and what type of employee would you recommend? Or how can you make yourself, and then how, as an employee, how can you make yourself be that candidate? All right, Mandy.
So I think one of the things, from a manager's perspective, I think one of the things you're first looking for is, can they handle their current responsibilities, right? Are they ability to execute and do what they say they're going to do, or do they kind of lose steam halfway? So, you know, can they do the job they were hired to do? And then kind of looking at interest in, all right, do they love the job that they were hired to do, or are they looking to add on more? Are they looking for growth? Is their engagement maybe flagging, and is that due to the current responsibilities? Like, they just need something different, a better fit. I look for fit a lot of the time. So looking for an employee who is motivated and excited by the opportunity to learn new things or try new things. So like employees who run toward challenges or raise their hand or can say, yeah, I don't know how to do that already, or I've never done that, but I can learn. So this kind of ability to navigate ambiguous circumstances and run towards new things. And then maybe like persistence in the face of challenges too, right? Because learning is hard. Moving, every time you reskill, you are stretching outside of your comfort zone. You're moving from like, I know I can do this job, or I know I can do this thing. I don't know that I'll be successful in that next role or that next skill. And so the ability to persist in the face of challenges. So those are all things I look for. Time commitment. We talked about maybe challenges sometimes that you face with upskilling or reskilling. It's that time commitment, right? Because it's like, how much time do you devote as an employer to paying your employees to, not be productive in the short term, to be more productive or lean in a new way in the long term? And so we definitely try and balance that. Like, I don't feel like it's fair to ask somebody just to learn something new on their own time, right? Especially if it's a skill or an ability that's going to help us grow and help us run faster. And so we definitely have programs where employees learn on company time and have some kind of capstone project or some area where they are trying to problem solve or add some impact as a result of the time they've spent learning during this reskilling program.
And for those, for the employees that, let's say there isn't a structured, if there isn't any foreseeable upward mobility and there isn't a system in play with the employer, what would you recommend, any of you, for those employees that want to go for upward movement, but there's no structure? How do they create that and make themselves, put themselves on the radar? Any advice on that?
I'll just be super quick. And then I think I always encourage people, and I do it myself, just to have conversations with people and let them know, hey, I want to know more about your role or your team. I think I might be interested in that if there are opportunities in the future. I just wanted to get on the radar and kind of indicate that I'm interested. So just starting by reaching out to people and say, hey, your job seems interesting, or I heard you did this project. I'm curious to know more. That sounds, like something I would be interested in too. And so it just starts with conversations and just letting them know, hey, I don't know if you'll have headcount on your team in the near future, but this is an area I'm definitely interested in. So just wanted you to know and think of me if there's future opportunities.
And just a follow up to what she said, when I'm going to talk about the students first, and then we'll move to the mentors. So every class, there's always at least one student that always wants to get into Bottega, to work as a mentor, and grow towards one of the teachers and everything. And, I was telling you, the harder work that sounds so improper, the more work that you do and the more hard work that you put into it, it will get seen. People will see it, and then that we will approach you, with your interest in the company. But as far as once you're with Bottega, we have our mentors. We have a great team of mentors, and then we have myself and the other teachers that we're a good team as well. But what we do I started as a mentor when I first started with Bottega, and I'll tell you, it was difficult at first, because not only did I have to, help the students, but you have to give a really good attitude no matter what is going on. You have to be open, you have to be friendly, these are the personality traits that you have to have as a mentor, and then even more as a teacher, and now you have to have the knowledge, so because you're not just doing the curriculum that we give to the students. Now we're doing our own lectures, with each class. So you have to have the knowledge. So what we do for the mentors is, we have, sort of like exercises or exams that, they'll do mostly every week, just to keep their skills going, keep them building something or working on something, not just working with a student, when they need help, but rather they're building their own skills. And will that lead to maybe something else at a different company? Sure, maybe. We've had a lot of mentors that have left Bottega, and now they're doing tremendous work with other companies. But when we see that their work is growing, or their skills are growing, excuse me, that gives us the opportunity to maybe promote them into, this teaching team that we have, because I mean, now we can see their skills. Now we know that they're capable of understanding and actually, have good teaching ability, so that's what we do here at Bottega, is taking those mentors, giving them, every piece of knowledge that we can. And us as teachers, I mean, like I believe either Mo or Carlos said it, but the industry is growing and changing every day. Okay, so us as teachers, we have to stay ahead of the game. Okay, or it's not ahead of the game, but we have to stay on par. And because if we don't, and then something changes and we can't teach that, okay, what's that going to do? It won't look good for us as teachers. So what we do is we learn, and then we pass on our knowledge to the mentors, and so that they're able to continue growing as well and understanding what's going on. So, and then they can scale up from there. So that's what we do for the mentors growing into a teacher position. And then, I haven't seen any teachers go any higher yet, but I mean, we just transitioned to something really big with the university. So we will see what happens, but I mean, this is what I do as far as a teacher here at Bottega. So
Yeah, I'd like to add something. If there's no program within your company, then what's stopping you from making that program for yourself? I always encourage my interns and my university grads to seek out those conversations, but take it a step further. Ask them for a shadow day. Ask them, can I shadow you for a day and understand what are the conversations that you're having, the decisions that you're making, the projects that you're working on, the technology that you're using. I ask them for those stretch projects, and have that conversation with your current manager to understand, hey, I'm at an 80% bandwidth capacity at this moment. I have 20% that's usually used for flex opportunities. Can I use that 20% to focus on, this minor project, whether it's shadowing or supporting a presentation, or sitting in meetings and understanding how they navigate from a project management lifecycle. Nothing is stopping you from creating those programs that you want and you're seeking at your current organization. The worst thing that someone's going to say is no. But once that happens, you brush it off and move on to the next person, because I promise someone is going to say yes. Most companies run lean, and so there's always that work that they can't get to. There's always going to be that work that they can't get to. And so it's just finding that right person who's going to give you that opportunity. And again, it's going to be a trial and error type of deal. It's going to be, maybe some people, can provide you with that, half day shadow experience, but it's being flexible and taking opportunities as they come. It's being open and communicating. These are my passion areas. These are the areas that I'm interested in learning more of. That it keeps your leaders in mind. Oh, Mo's interested in XYZ, but she's not interested in ABC. It's having that open communication with the leaders, your community, your network around you. So when that opportunity does come up, they know that Mo is the next best person in line, or Mo is not the right person to tap on for this project. It's, again, that level of community, that level of visibility, that level of communication, and also risk taking. Because it's a little risky to go to someone and say, hey, I'm interested in your work. Can I see that? Can I get a little taste? It's risky to go to your manager and saying, hey, I'm actually, a little bit curious about the UX world, which is so different from the diversity world, but that is okay. And if you find yourself in a uncomfortable conversation or an uncomfortable situation, at least now and maybe that's not the right culture for you. Maybe it's asking yourself that. And if it is an issue, it's also asking yourself why. Is it because your manager is super stressed and lean? So it's just kind of having those reflecting moments and also making sure that you are advocating for yourself in the right way.
Awesome.
Many plus ones, plus 100 to what Mo said. Seriously, it's one of the best things you can possibly do. And that's why I mentioned creating opportunities for yourself, because, or advocating for yourself. I love how Mo said that. It really is that. Like, even if there's not this formal program, there is nothing stopping you. At Workfront, we wanted people that were interested in different topics to be able to create a small community around it. So for example, we started one that's around machine learning and artificial intelligence, and all of us that are in that guild, none of us do ML or AI professionally, right? We're big enthusiasts. We really like it. We want to learn more about it. But what was really cool is once we started formalizing these guilds, then we could say, hey, none of us are data scientists. What if we talk to the business intelligence team, the BI team, and got one of their data scientists to come talk to us real quick? And maybe we can have them over for 30 minutes. And the person from BI was like, sure, I'll come present. And she did an awesome presentation. We all learned a ton from her. And it's that kind of thing. Like, no one told us that we couldn't do that. No one said that we could. It's just we did it because we wanted to. And multiple guilds started appearing for different topics and different subjects. So I think, yeah, advocating for yourself and saying, I'm interested in these things, and I wonder if there's other people. Other things, like for me as a manager, I take very great interest in what my people care about. I see myself as a service leader, and so if I'm talking to them and they say, I want to learn this tool, or I want to learn how to use this strategy better, then I try to see what resources are available to them to help them out with that. So for example, in my space of automation engineering, we have this amazing resource called Tech-onomics University. And that's something that a lot of the people that before I started there were not aware of. And when I joined, I was like, hey, this is something that is completely free that you can join and you can do at your own time. And that was an amazing resource for them. Something that they could do during work hours, after hours if they wanted to, but just the fact that they were aware that there's these resources that existed was enough for them to start leveling up. And then in our one-on-ones, we could talk about it. Hey, Carlos, I got this course done over the weekend, and I'm so excited to tell you about this. Let me show you the project I made. And we'd have really cool conversations about that. And kind of naturally, the next step for them was, now that I learned this thing, I want to do it at work. And so it then became a matter of the new skill you learned, let's apply it to the context of what you're working on. And I looked for opportunities for them to be able to do that. If they said, I want to get to a senior engineer, how could I help them achieve that? So looking at different projects and opportunities around and saying, what questions does this team have that needs to be answered? Or like Mo said, there might be something that they want to get done, but they don't have the time or people to. Why not give that project that could help this person become a senior, give them that project, let them work on it and talk to their manager and do this cross collaboration with people. And that everyone's aware that this developer is very interested in taking on these kinds of projects, working on these different types of tool sets and leveling up. And now you have multiple people rooting for this person. So it's that kind of a thing where even if there's not something formal in the company, there's so many ways for you to get it from something that's just self-driven, where you want to put the onus on the person. You need to learn it yourself on your own time, and changing it from that self-driven kind of mindset to more of a community-driven mindset. And how can we all help each other and share each other's successes and celebrate these successes as well and help people succeed and be happy with that.
Thank you. I think we have time for just maybe one or two more questions. And I have to get this one in here because at Bottega University, we're a software development school. We're creating software engineers. And this question is to help let me just ask the question. How do you create a culture and process where you elevate existing employees while also hiring junior engineers? There's a lot of junior engineers wanting to get in there. We know that the digital demands are out there. So how does your employer, what are they doing to create this ecosystem and building through, getting the pipeline and upskilling, and maybe someone didn't start as a junior engineer, but they've transitioned over. But how does that look like, and how does an employer promote that from the bottom up?
So I'll start this one. Yeah, I think one of the good signs of a healthy organization is the diversity of the talent they're looking to hire. If they only ever look for senior developers, I mean, I think some of us can probably think of some organizations right now that they only ever hire senior people, right? They never hire junior people, and that stinks, because that means that this organization is excluding or not trying to be part of the rest of the community and help them up level as well. And I mean, the reality of the matter is that for a lot of these companies, you need to balance it, right? We can't just have a team of junior developers too. So there is this reality that, yes, that doesn't mean that every company, I'm not, pointing fingers saying you must hire junior developers now. It's more so you need to think internally, look at yourself and say, what are we doing to enable a more diverse talent pool? What are we doing to make it so that if we hire someone who is brand new to the company, even a senior developer is going to go through this ramp up, right? I think we talked about that early on, where hiring new people, firing people, or letting people go, or people changing positions, that's a huge cost to the company. And so it would be better for you to hire someone who is new and have the, like you said, ecosystem or platform in place to help them level up. And in productivity engineering, that's one of the things that we try to focus on. How can we reduce the amount of time it takes for a developer to become productive? Something that may take 2, 4, 6 weeks, could we turn it to 1 day? And it's an interesting question, and some people may go, that's kind of crazy. Probably not. But what if we could, right? And that's kind of, when you start thinking of these kinds of questions, think of that going back to the junior engineers. Do we have the platform, the tool set, the processes, the culture in place to hire a junior engineer and help them be successful? So then the amount of risk is not as high anymore, because you are taking a risk hiring someone that doesn't have any work experience. You're basically thinking of potential, looking at how do they learn things? Are they driven? Are they humble? Are they hungry? Like, you're thinking of these types of soft qualities, because you don't know usually the hard skills that they have. So how can you make it more successful for them? Do you have these learning opportunities in place? Do you have senior engineers that are very much aware that when a junior developer gets hired on, that part of their responsibility is mentoring and helping them be successful? There's a whole lot that we can get into this, but I'll leave some time open for the others. But there's a whole bunch that goes into this, because you want your senior developers to have opportunities to be leaders, to level up themselves. Senior isn't the highest tier, right? You have staffs and principals and architects and scientists, and you can go up and up and up and up. It doesn't just cap at seniors. And so how do you help your seniors get to those higher levels if that's the career path they want to go down? And part of it, I would say, is leadership, is helping them lead a successful team. And part of that team is going to be junior developers. And that's a lot of room for them to grow, is how they communicate with them, how they treat them, how they help them, mentor them. I could go on, but there you go. It's definitely important.
All right, Mandy.
I think looking at it from the lens of innovation, right? Like, you don't want to be in an echo chamber. You want there to be career path opportunities, and you want to be able to do a lot of that internal upskilling, but you also want to have a healthy ecosystem. You want to be introducing diverse perspectives, right? People who will come in, they see things differently. They have maybe a different background, some different experiences, and they're going to see opportunities that you might have missed. And like, I love raising people up from entry level all the way through at Qualtrics, but also, like, I wouldn't want that to be the only type of employee we had who their first job was at Qualtrics and they've been there, forever. I definitely think it's a culture add to add in intentionally these external candidates and help bring them in as well. And so we always do kind of try and balance our teams like that.
All right, I think Ben, you got like 30 seconds.
Okay, going to your question. Well, I just wanted to say, with being a teacher, one thing that I always like to do with our mentors is, I'll challenge. Like, we had a mentor not too long ago that he was really into Python. I am a diehard Python developer. I love it. But he didn't know he only knew the basics, really. And so what I wanted to do is really push him to the advanced side. Now, what did this ultimately do? Okay, now he's working somewhere else, but now he's a stronger developer. And I think that's very important. Just like Carlos said, the seniors, we're already seniors, but these junior level developers would love to get here and get to this point where where I am, and so then I can go even higher if I wanted to. Okay, and Carlos, that's a really good point. The seniors have to work with these juniors to make them stronger, to help them rebuild or not rebuild, but build to their skills and so on. Okay, because if they're just sitting there and working on the same thing over and over and over, okay, what are they really building? I mean, they're sort of like at a static moment in time, and it's just like just sitting there. And so I think, like Carlos said, it's very important that these senior developers do work with the juniors and even the mid developers, to help build them up. And I think that's very important. And I'm actually glad you said that, Carlos. Thank you.
All right, I think we've hit the top of the hour. Just real quick, if you want to put out on the chat real quick your LinkedIn or your social handle or email, something if someone wanted to reach out to you for questions. So also, if anybody is interested in, of course, software development as a career path, learning how to upskill, reach out to Benjamin or myself. We can talk to you all day about Bottega University's program and helping you upskill in that path. But yeah, grab those connections, reach out, and anything from the audience, Bree, if we've got any questions out there that we can answer just one, or if not, we can wrap this up. All right, looks like we are good. We don't have any questions right now from the audience. Wanted to thank you all for your time, for putting this. I thought this was a very informative, very engaging conversation. I hope we've added value to not only the employers who are looking to upskill their employees, but also the individual looking on and learning how to upskill. So thank you all and have a good afternoon.